unilaterally. It is alleged that it was a unilateral decision that he took. We shall be looking at the details of that. Also, the Electoral Commission of Ghana, they are setting their sights on a better voter turnout come December 2024. In 2020, we had a 79% voter turnout. They are looking to beat that record. Then finally, we shall go to the campaign of the Movement for Change, because the running mate to Alan Chairman, Tenkwame Osudan, so he is in the central region and he is propagating the gospel according to the great transformational plan. So these are the issues that we have tabled for this morning's discussion. Once again, I'll implore you to be a part of the conversation. Let me know what your thoughts are. Send in your messages. Let me know where you're watching from. I'll be more than glad to acknowledge you on the show. This morning, I've been joined by the General Secretary of the People's National Convention. I am tempted to describe them as the embattled People's National Convention, because we do know for a fact that there's a court issue in relation to the disqualification of their flag bearer Bernard Amber Tyler Mona. They are at war with the Electoral Commission of Ghana. They want to find out the reasons for which their candidate was disqualified. But let me say a hearty good morning to Audu Ishak. Audu Ishak, good morning.
Good morning, blessed.
I trust you're fine.
Like you indicated, I would have been fine, but for that unjustified decision by the belligerent Electoral Commission, which would, if left unchecked, pose a threat to Ghana's democracy. But I believe that the processes we have filed in court, from all indications, we would come out successful, and the good people of Ghana would have an opportunity to choose between a new leader and the old order. The new leader, obviously, is Bernard Bona. We need a new direction, and that new direction requires a new leader. That leader can only be found in Bernard Amber Tyler Mona.
I wanted to engage you a little bit on the court issue. We're having a brief conversation on that before the show started, and not to be prejudicial, but what could happen?
Well, bless, like I told you off air, the Electoral Commission wrote to the PNC, drawing our attention to some clerical errors we had made on some pages in that particular nomination form. This is a form that is in excess of 130 something pages. It's close to 140 pages. I think it is exactly 139 pages. And so if you found out that we had made some clerical errors in about 6 pages, you drew our attention to it. We went to the forms, came back, did those corrections, and resubmitted. Let me also indicate that we were given less than 24 hours to do those corrections. We were called on the letter was written on the 13th, but we got it on the 14th. We took the forms on the 14th, and we were asked to bring the forms before 2 p.m. that day. Before 2 p.m. Same day. We did it, and we resubmitted. That was the end of the case, until that infamous press conference announcing who had qualified and who had not qualified. So we see that, yes, as for clerical errors, anybody can make clerical errors. Like we keep saying, even the Electoral Commission, in putting together that nomination form, with all the experts that they have, with that number of staff manning the Electoral Commission, they still made clerical errors and spelling mistakes on the nomination form. Why don't they think that a political party could equally make mistakes? And so, for me, as I sit here, I cannot tell for a fact that this is the reason for which the Electoral Commission disqualified us, because the Electoral Commission made a very blanket statement covering all of those people who were disqualified. As to why we have been disqualified, no. They point to clerical errors and some other things. We want specifics. Once we get those specifics and they're able to prove it, it will be within the purview of the court to determine whether those clerical errors or those errors in general pointed out by the Electoral Commission can be a basis for the denial of the opportunity for our flag bearer to stand for the election and for the people of Ghana to get the president that they want.
Right. Thank you very much, Audu Ishaq. Let me also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Aminu Shitu. He is a lecturer
Adjunct. Adjunct lecturer.
A what?
Adjunct lecturer.
Adjunct. Oh, okay. He's an adjunct lecturer at the Ashesi University. Right. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
I trust you're fine.
Thank you. I think we are surviving.
Great.
By His grace.
Great. I'm also expecting Councillor Pia Dankwa of the Movement for Change. He should be joining us pretty shortly. But we'll start the conversation regardless. We are starting our first discussion with our African story, Kenyan MPs to vote on Deputy President's impeachment. Kenyan MPs are due to vote on whether to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in a political row that has gripped the nation following his recent fallout with President William Ruto. Interesting. The lawmakers accused Gachagua of corruption, practicing ethnically divisive politics, and undermining the government, among a host of other charges. The 59-year-old politician, popularly known as Riggy G, has described the allegations against him as outrageous and sheer propaganda, maintaining they are part of a plot to hound him out of office. He is expected to appear before Parliament to defend himself before the vote, after which impeachment proceedings will move to the Senate. Political tensions have been running high in the East African country since June, when deadly demonstrations erupted over unpopular tax hikes, exposing a deep rift between Ruto and Gachagua. Ruto sacked most of his cabinet and brought in members of the main opposition following the anti-tax protest, in which more than 50 people were killed. Several MPs allied to Gachagua were summoned by police last month, accused of funding the protest, though no charges were brought. Ahead of the vote, security has been heightened in the capital, Nairobi, with police patrols and major roads leading to Parliament blocked to the public. About 20 lawyers have been hired to defend Gachagua against the impeachment motion, local media reports. A total of 291 MPs, more than the 117 required by the Constitution, signed the motion to initiate the impeachment process last week. Gachagua has failed in numerous court bids to stop the proceedings going ahead. This is the current situation in Kenya when you go to Eastern Africa. Very interesting development. I mean, it is very rare to see the president fall out with the second in command. I mean, the vice president, for that matter. That does not so often happen. But yeah, well, you may cite Akai and then
Exactly.
you may cite Konkensa Akai and then Jerry Rawlings. But this is very different to the very extent that he's being impeached by the Kenyan legislative arm of government. I'm starting with you, Audu Ishaq. But let me say a good morning to Councillor Pia Dankwa, who's just joined us. Councillor, good morning. I trust you're fine.
Yeah, I'm doing this yourself.
Great, I'm very well. Right.
Well, bless, when you say very interesting development, I actually choked. Because I think that the situation in Kenya does not augur well for the kind of democracy that we need on the continent of Africa. Kenya for some time now has been in this kind of turmoil, and we know the ramifications or consequences of an unstable democratic order anywhere. And so I feel sad that the development in Kenya does not show any signs of abating, that it's been one problem to another. And we know that Kenya had a very bad kind of a rift within itself until they were able to go back for elections and start to build on the pillars of democracy and all of that. In fact, this decision itself, I think that it's a tenet of democracy, that you cannot take a unilateral decision to sack anybody whose position has been provided for by the country's constitution It is the constitution of the Kenya that requires that this process be followed if there's any need for the removal of the vice president. And I am not in any way capable or fit to say that the man should not be impeached or he should be impeached. But I think that when these things happen, they have the tendency to disturb even the in-house arrangements within the government itself. And we have seen it severally in where people who break away, because obviously if you decide that you are impeaching the man and eventually you succeed, he will still pursue politics, and he will pursue politics against whatever political order that led his impeachment and all of that. And so for me, it's important that we don't get to this point. We should, as much as possible, ensure that we do the things that would bring about serenity, the things that will be done in a very orderly manner, the things that, for whatever reason, would, as it were, inure to the benefit of the people. But if it appears that we allow these rates to degenerate to the point that you even have to sack or call for the impeachment of your own vice president, it tells us the deep-seated tension that is being experienced. Like you read from the story, the fact that the security even have to deploy a lot of people, a lot of security onto the streets in anticipation of any possible fallout should tell you that it's not a good sight to behold. But we pray that at the end of the day, whatever decision comes out of this impeachment process, it will not destabilize the peace in Kenya, that they will continue to, as it were, have a very sound and a very peace country, so that they could also continue to go about their daily lives and all of that.
Right, thank you. I will be shocked. Dr. Aminu.
Thank you, Bless. Good morning to Audu, good morning to Council, and good morning to our viewers out there. I believe the events in Kenya is just giving an indication of the breakdown of the coalition that brought Ruto to power in 2022. It's so sad that it was such a massive, coalition, but eventually it appears things are beginning to crumble. As a result, the vice president is being accused of a number of things, including corruption, including ethnic divisiveness, including insubordination. In reality, he has fallen out with the president. Okay? So within the coalition, there are cracks. And I believe some of the comments attributed to him included the fact that he argued for jobs being first given to the people who actually voted for the president. And people thought that that wasn't good enough. Remember, they just came out of this trouble in June, July. So much demonstration, about 50 people dying, and so on and so forth. So for somebody who is being projected with those kind of comments, it doesn't bring national cohesion. He comes from central Kenya. And actually, the coalition got so much votes from that for central Kenya. Actually, the vote has taken place in the House of Rep. It's now left to go to the Senate. So there, 281 members voted for, 44 voted against, and 1 abstention. So they've already gone past the threshold of 2/3. The next stage is the Senate. So if the Senate upholds the decision of the House of Rep, then, well, even though he has also spoken that he's going to, challenge it in court, that process is also on. We don't know what the court will say, but that is what the state of affairs is. The majority leader, for example, is accusing him of breaking about 8 provisions of the Constitution. Of course, that is left to the courts to determine. That is just a comment by the majority leader, in Parliament. So these are things happening, and like Audu said, it just shows that the national cohesion is not there. And at this time, we don't wish that a country goes through that kind of turmoil. I mean, the basic needs of the people are the bread and butter issues. If you don't have a functioning government, if government machinery is not working effectively, and you have to spend time to provide security and so on and so forth, definitely you can ensure that, you can envisage that there will be opportunity cost, resources that ought to go into addressing the basic needs of the people we will have to use to be providing security and what have you. And the fact that there's even no unity within the governing party itself is a problem. And some of the fallout of the last trouble they had to do with the fact that, the president had to sack a whole lot of people from his cabinet and try to embrace, other people. I mean, in order to bring a semblance of a national government. And so that itself shows the kind of situation which, Kenya finds itself. So we're only hoping that let the legal process take its course. Eventually, whatever the courts determine, whatever Parliament decides, so be it. It's a win for democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aminu. Council.
So let me wish the people of your viewers a very good morning. Wish my two distinguished lecturers, colleague panelists, a good morning. Hopefully we can have a great discussion for God and for country. Yeah, so I think over the past 1 month or 2 months, I personally have been calling for the impeachment of our president. And it seems the people of Kenya are showing the way. Now, impeaching, the act of, or the attempt to impeach the president is a matter that should not be taken lightly. It's a very serious issue. And like my colleagues here rightly said, it may potentially bring about some form of, destabilize a government. But we must recognize that there's also a reason why our constitutions make provision for impeachment, because the philosophical basis for the system of governance we are practicing is the social contract, and the social contract posits that all of us in our natural states are independent. We are fully independent, but unfortunately in that state, then there'll be chaos, because then the strongest will survive. If I'm stronger than you, then I can beat you or kill you and take your property.
My right is right.
You understand? And so, to protect our lives, to protect our liberties, to protect our rights of pursuing our own happiness, then we all agree to cede a bit of our powers to central government. To what end? For the purpose of protecting our lives, protecting our liberties, and protecting and guaranteeing our right to pursue our own happiness. Now, it is inherent in that philosophy that where central government or the person we give those powers to uses the powers we've granted them in a manner which is adverse to the purpose for which we give them those powers, then they lose the legitimacy to hold those powers. And that's the philosophical basis for the act of impeachment. And that's why in constitutions, in any serious constitution, there must always be that right to impeach the president or anybody we signed a social contract with, if they use those powers in a manner adverse to the purpose for which those powers were granted them in the first place. So you take one of the oldest democracies in the world, America. They've had 3 instances where they've impeached their presidents. And when we say impeach, it doesn't necessarily mean that you were removed, but steps were taken to remove you. Yeah. And so in America in 1868, they impeached Andrew Johnson, where he flouted the law. He attempted to remove an officer of state in an illegal manner, and he was impeached. Indeed, he survived the senatorial vote by just a vote. We all know, at least we saw Bill Clinton's impeachment, where he was impeached. He was impeached for
Lewinsky Gates.
Yeah, essentially lying, as in
the Lewinsky scandal.
Yeah, under oath.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has been impeached twice.
Yeah.
You understand? Now what that does is that it reinforces the culture of accountability, which is required for this democracy to be sustained. Because we recognize that for democracy to be sustained, you need a political culture that, one, tolerates diverse opinions, and 2, holds leadership accountable. Without that, you cannot sustain democracy. Without that, then the foundation upon which this social contract is founded, is built, will be weakened. You understand? And thus the philosophical basis for why in constitutions there's always a right by the people to impeach the people they've granted their powers to. You understand? Now, having said that, impeachment shouldn't be a tool that you use to advance your parochial political agenda. You understand? As in, for this democracy to work, it requires a certain level of integrity. You understand? Integrity to your obligations. And here I'm speaking not just to the bearers of political power, but to us, the repository of sovereign power. You need a certain level of integrity. You get a picture. So when you take the Kenyan issue, the vice president is being impeached on the basis of he having been corrupted, of corruption. In fact, specifically, he is being accused of having misappropriated about 40 million USD. He's being accused of pushing tribal and divisive politics, insubordination, like you said. Now, because of the seriousness of those issues, rather than having followed their procedure, these are issues that you must establish, you must prove. So you must prove, in my view, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he's misappropriated 40 million USD. When it comes to whether or not he's practiced divisive politics, tribal divisive politics, almost every leader in Africa will be impeached. Because me personally, if you ask me, largely politics is driven by tribalism. You understand? It must be condemned. You understand? But if he's going to be impeached for driving that, then almost all the leaders in a part of the world must be impeached. Especially in Ghana, where even the campaign is being driven by a lot of tribalism. So as much as it's serious and as much as it grants us the ability to reinforce the need for accountable governance, it must be something that must not be used, or it must be used sparingly, and the facts that upon which you are basing the attempt to impeach the president must be so serious that it goes to the very foundation of the social contract we signed with government. And so ordinarily I would have commended the people of Kenya for taking those steps. But I'm not convinced that the reason why they want to impeach the vice president is because he's breached a fundamental, anything fundamental to the social contract they signed. But what it does is that it brings into sharp focus what we are doing here in Ghana. Because where we've given powers to the president, we've gone further to create in him a trust, ultimate obligation that requires that any decision he takes concerning the mineral, the minerals for which purpose we've created a trust in him. He sat down and allowed the illegal exploitation of those minerals in a manner that has poisoned our country. It's put every single life in this country at risk, real risk. You understand? Now that's the dereliction of his duties under the Constitution, under the trust we created in him, under the social contract we signed with him, potentially undermines one of the fundamental reasons why we signed that social contract with him, which is a protection of our lives. You get a picture. Now, that breach is so serious and so fundamental that it requires that if we are serious in this country, that we should call for the impeachment of the president, because he's breached a fundamental term of the social contract we signed with him. He's breached a fundamental term of the oath, the presidential oath he took to be faithful to Ghana, to be faithful to his obligations under our Constitution, to be faithful to the oath he took, to be faithful to the trust we created in him. And so it's sad. It's sad that in this country, for something as serious as this, for a breach as serious as this breach, we are failing to gather the courage to call for the ultimate accountability of a holder of political office. Especially when it's clear that because of the nature of the breach, he's lost the legitimacy to continue to exercise the powers that we give him. You understand? So for this system of governance to work, and when I say work, it's not about we just this charade of a democracy, but for real democracy to work, a democracy which is not power of the people, but which is also power by and for the people, for we to enjoy the benefits, the promise of democracy, then there's an obligation on the people of this country to be up and doing, to participate in the democratic process, to hold leadership accountable. Until we do that, then the evil that is being perpetrated on this country, where political leadership just wants power but they don't want to work, because we grant them the power, they want the power but they don't want to work, they just don't work. But they don't work because they know they won't be held accountable. You understand? That must stop, and that will stop if the people of this country, if the sovereign, the repository of sovereign power, stand up, wake up, open their eyes, gather the courage, the cojones, to hold political leadership accountable. And in that call, the middle class must understand that they have a duty to play. They have a huge duty to play, a duty to show real leadership in this call. Yeah, we can't be sitting there because you have a car, you have a house, you have a job, and you think you are comfortable, and so you will sleep and allow our country to be destroyed. Yeah, because when you talk about the loss of economic credibility that this president has caused, where a fundamental principle in economics, in finance, that says that the safest place to place your money is with government, that has been lost. Yeah, so right now there's no credibility, economic credibility in this country, and that's why the economy is on its knees. We talk about political leadership. There's loss of credibility in political leadership. The citizens of this country simply do not trust the politicians that they are going to fulfill their end of the bargain. You understand? But you see, and once the people lose confidence in the ability of politicians to deliver on their mandates, then what is at stake is the democracy we think we are practicing, which is established to be the safest system of governance to protect our lives, to protect our liberties, to guarantee our right to pursue our own happiness. Are you not surprised? Are you not worried that the last Afrobarometer report said that majority of Ghanaians right now do not believe that democracy can deliver on its promise? That is what is at stake, and that will continue this destruction of the confidence of the people of this country in democracy as the best form of governance will deteriorate insofar as the middle class sleep. We need to be awakened. We need to be interested in how governance is done. We need to hold political leadership accountable, and we need to do it now. Otherwise, the system will break on all of us.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pierre Dankwa. You too can be a part of this conversation. Your thoughts matter. Send me your messages 0559919 0559919 Also, we are streaming live on Facebook. Make sure you do well to comment, share, so that others can also join in the conversation. Away from that, Labour actually slated 10th of this month, which should be tomorrow, for their protest against illegal mining. And so that protest is going to be a protest where they lay down their tools. But the Ghana Medical Association, which should be, I believe, a part of Labour also, have decided that they are not going to be part. And people have read in between the lines and have alleged that the president of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Serbo, took a unilateral decision. So there was no consultancy, or he didn't get the support of other members of the organization. So it was just a decision that he took by himself. Now, we are hearing that the reasons for which the Ghana Medical Association is avoiding, or has decided that they won't lay down their tools, is because of the critical nature of their work. As health workers, it is important that they are always at the beck and call of Ghanaians to provide health care to sick people. But then again, people have also questioned the consistency in that, because whenever it appears that whenever they want better conditions of service, they ignore the fact that they are offering essential, very essential service, and still embark on strike anyway. So the question is that, is it because this one does not serve their parochial interest, and so that's why they've decided to not be a part of this planned protest by organized labor, which is coming off tomorrow? That has been the conversation. Also, if you take the press statement that was issued, the only signatory, or the only signature on the press statement was that of the president. But when you take past press statements they have released, we have the president's signature, we have the general secretary's signature. So that conversation is also there. Why are they not in solidarity with Ghanaians on such a big issue, galamsey, that has caused so much devastation to our environment? But if it actually served their interest, where they want a better conditions or better conditions of service, they would have, or they would, ideally embark on a strike. I'm starting with you, Dr. Aminu, on this particular subject matter. Tell us what we don't know.
Thank you, Bless. Well, events unfolding since last night will suggest that maybe there's a break in the front of Labour, but that's actually not the case. I mean, it's obvious we're in a democracy. If you have a group of people agreeing to do something, probably one or two people might fall out. But generally, I think it is clear that majority of workers agree to embark on the strike. But before I even go into other events connected to this, I just want to, reiterate what the council was saying earlier on. And each time I heard him speak of those things with passion, I really get excited, because even before the advent of Afrofanto, you see the tendency for party communicators to look beyond party colors is just limited with a few. But for him, I realize he's been consistent with this issue of raising awareness as to what it actually means to govern, what it means to entrust power in the hands of people. That look, as a collective, we cannot all be presidents or ministers or what have you. So as a result, we put that power in the hands of some individuals to act on our behalf. So until we hold such people accountable and answerable to us, then we will not be seeking our own interests. And each time I realize he speaks with passion. And it just resonates with what Thomas Hobbes was propagating somewhere, That's where the issue of, comes in. That yes, we cede some of our liberties into the hands of some people. So those people must be accountable to us. Whatever decisions they take, as far as our well-being is concerned, they must do it in our interest. Sadly, in our context, our political or public office holders do things to serve their own interests. So I link that to the accusation of the president of the Medical Association. If he knows very well that he can be held accountable, if the allegation is true that he unilaterally wrote that letter, believe me, he wouldn't have done that. But as usual, because we don't hold our leaders accountable, some of these things can go unchecked. And he referred to the middle class. And that is a threat in our current circumstance. Believe me, the current DDEP that is underway is affecting a lot of, what do you call it? Middle income, earners. So much so that if we don't wake up, for people to even gloat over going to negotiate debt and come and tell us that we've had the best of negotiation, in fact, it's like you are praising mediocrity, that kind of thing. Something that ought not to have happened in the first place. Then you go and negotiate and come and gloat over it. I mean, so as far as this issue is concerned, I realized there's another letter calling for his head already. There's going to be what do you call it? A conference of Ghana Medical Association next month in Volta region, I believe, November. So somebody is already calling for his head because he apparently took a unilateral decision. Okay, but all said and done, it appears majority of workers are for the strike. And let's see how things are going to unfold. We can only hope that the government will wake up and do something. Because where we have reached is no longer rhetorics. Government has to walk the talk. And I believe some of the demands from labor are not rocket science. Show commitment to doing something. For example, who initiated the LI 2462? It was government. Somebody will say it was politically engineered. It was just a window being created to allow party apparatchiks to enter our forest. So how did it happen in the first place? If a government can recall parliament in order to come and sit on a loan deal, why can't government recall parliament with the existential threat that we're facing now? That all our water bodies destroyed. As we hear now, apart from probably the Volta Basin, virtually every water body in Ghana now is under threat.
Even the Volta Basin has been compromised.
So this, yes. So we are seriously under emergency. So there can be no reason why government will not sit down, see what to do, recall parliament, and I believe it was something that was going to be in their interest. Parliament will have been recalled, no matter. So let's see what happens, and I hope that labor will stand its ground, because seriously, with the kind of leaders that we have here in Ghana and across Africa, we must begin to demand them to do things that are in our interest. If they know citizens will hold them accountable for their actions or inactions, believe me, they will think twice. Thank you.
Council, I want to find out from you. I don't know if you have heard, but if you pick yesterday's edition of the Daily Graphic newspaper, the banner headline had to do with the issue of galamsey and steps that government has taken to immediately address the issue. Some of the steps, if I can remember, is that soldiers are going to be deployed again into the forest. Also, mining in water bodies and forest reserves is going to be banned. They are, in fact, water bodies and forest reserves are going to be declared as red zones. That is what the Daily Graphic said. And also that legislative instrument that permitted people to go into the forest, should be looked at not immediately, but as soon as Parliament, reconvenes. Shouldn't that be enough to stop or to give Labour some confidence and say that, okay, steps are being taken by the executive to address the issue, and so we should rescind on that decision?
Why is it executive? Say the president. I don't know why you want to go around and diplomacy. He's the only person he's the one that has executive powers. He and his vice.
Of course.
So when you say the executive, like you're afraid to mention his name. Mention his name. Nana Akufo-Addo. He holds the executive powers. He has been created as a trust.
So he's bringing all these measures.
Yeah, so don't waste time. But he's had 7 years.
Yeah.
He's had 7 years. 7 years. Yeah. And see, for I don't like repeating myself. But I need to repeat myself.
For the sake of emphasis.
Yeah. I don't have a choice. Because you see, I stand on all fours with organized labor. I must commend organized labor. In some jurisdictions, the major parties are always formed by organized labor. You go to the UK, and the Labour Party is a party formed and populated by organized labor. They are the most powerful group in any serious country. They're the most serious group in any country. And I think over the past few years, they have been sleeping. And it's not just them. Remember when I entered the university in 99, before 99, we had a powerful students' body union. It's a powerful one. The government has killed it. If you use partisanship to kill that force.
They've killed it with Tain and Tescon.
Exactly. We've killed it. We had powerful professional bodies. Ghana Bar Association was so powerful. I'm a member of Ghana Bar Association. With all this, you see, in the history of this country, this is the biggest crime. This is the biggest crime that has been committed against Ghana. What has Ghana Bar Association said about it? Forcefully. What has Ghana Medical Association? In the light or in the understanding that the metals that they use to extract the gold, the mercury, the lead, the cyanide, the arsenate, has the potential of altering the DNA of our system. Where there are incontrovertible evidence that because of the presence of these metals in our system, people are giving birth to children with multiple deformities. You understand? To the extent that they are saying that it even impacts the fertility of people. You understand? Right now, one of the biggest foreign exchange earners for Ghana over the years, cocoa, is under threat. Every single fiber of our society, our climate, because common sense will tell you that when you do any act that impacts the cycles that ecology itself has created for us, you have to keep the stability of the ecology intact. Then you impact the climate, and when you impact the climate, you impact our lives, our livelihoods. And that's why ordinarily common sense will tell you that don't allow mining in forest reserves. That's why we keep forest reserves. The environmentalists will tell you that they serve as carbon sinks. They serve as carbon sinks.
Kwesi Pratt describes them as the lungs.
Lungs. Yeah, they're carbon sinks. You understand? And then, if there's one thing history of mankind has told us, that one of the key factors in the creation and establishment of communities is the water bodies. And so when you go around the world, every major city is built around a river, around a water body. Settlements. There are two factors that immediately man was able to domesticate certain plants and certain animals by way of agriculture. You understand? Coupled with rivers. That gave us the ability to populate huge communities together. That's why we have a situation where Accra, this small area, has a population of close to 5 million people. You understand? So that where you sit down and you allow acts that impacts the foundation of how we're even able to come to aggregate as communities in the first place, then you are sitting down and allowing the biggest crime against the country. What have these SOR powerful unions, associations, what have they done about it? Bless, what have they done about it? Now, and I think the doctor has done a great job with explaining the GMEs with Thomas Hobbes, and really, I don't have anything more to add. But I was saying that I stand on all fours and I commend Union for being roused awake in the face of this heinous crime being perpetrated against our country. But I have just one disappointment. I have just one disappointment, and because they are not demanding for that, and that's why the government can attempt to play logo league with them. Because, bless, do you need any Solomon to tell you that because of the public interest nature of the issue of galamsey, you should immediately call a halt to mining? It's not a permanent halt. It's a temporal halt to at least give nature an opportunity to heal itself. That too, it gives you the opportunity to review your regime. Because clearly, the reason why we are being faced with galamsey is a fundamental failure of government to regulate mining. So immediately call for a review. But how can you effectively review this regime in the chaos of mining? So why are we getting a pushback? In the way some of the members of the New Patriotic Party and some of the members of government are speaking. Yenja galamsey and yenja galamsey echna. With impunity, can't the president of Ghana, the leader of the New Patriotic Party, crack the whip? When the majority chief whip have the cojones, does not have the shame to call for a debate not to attempt to find solutions to the fundamental breakdown of the credibility of the economy, not a debate to find ways in which we can build the right political culture that would tolerate diverse opinions and demand for accountability. He doesn't want a debate about that. Not a debate on how to restore the confidence of the people of this country in political leadership. He wants a debate on between the New Patriotic Party and the NDC, the National Democratic Congress. Which of them has supervised the destruction of our environment? And sadly, because the union is not asking for the ultimate accountability, they can have the courage to say that the reason why they are not fighting galamsey is because the NDC, the National Democratic Congress, a party we sacked in 2016, partly because of their failure also to fight this menace. People who do not have real political power. Yes, they may have influence, but they do not have real political power.
Yes.
People we do not have social contract with. That because some of them are going around and saying that they are going to support galamsey, because of that you cannot fight galamsey. And they are telling, so clearly what they are telling us is that when they are pushed to the wall to choose between political power and doing right by Ghana, then they will slip in their obligation to do right by Ghana for political power. So then what do they need the political power for? That's what they are telling us. They are telling us that they are prepared to watch on for all of us to die if it means they will get political power. That's what they are telling us. That is what they are telling us. Indeed, why are the New Patriotic Party not up in arms with union in this strike against government? Why are they not? Because in their constitution, in one of the objects of why they became a party, is their commitment. That's what they said in their belief. I should use the word commitment. Is their belief and desire to protect and maintain the environmental integrity of Ghana. It's in their constitution. Now, if it's in their constitution, and the president they sponsored, the person they sponsored, for us to vote for as president, is using the powers we gave him, is using the sponsorship that they sponsored him in a manner adverse to their objects, then why are they not up in arms with union in this battle with the president? But they won't do that because the spirit that fuels them is very parochial in nature. Because we've all failed as a people to create the right political culture in this country. We've created a system where people we give our political powers to, when they are faced with any serious question, their sole consideration is, what is in it for me? What is in it for me? As against what is in the interest of the people who gave me that power. And it is that culture, is that spirit, that familiar spirit, which has permeated the New Patriotic Party, which seeks to permeate the Ghana Medical Association. Yes, it's that spirit, that parochial spirit, that spirit that dictates that when you are taking decisions, your consideration should be, what is in it for me? Not for us. Not for us. And that's why, against the wishes, the will of the rank and file of the Ghana Medical Association, their president can have the courage to attempt to throw a stone, a spoke in the wheels of organized labor. But we should not relent. Organized labor and everybody who is a patriot, who is a lover of Ghana, should not relent in this battle, because this battle isn't about us. This battle is a battle for the very survival and existence of our children, of our grandchildren. That is what is at stake. And in the light of that, we should not relent. It should not be said that we were the generation that filled this country. Because when I was growing up as a small boy on the streets of Latebiokoshi, I remember beautiful blue streams. Beautiful blue streams. We could go and fish for golden fish. The generation before us left us a very green and blue Ghana. Clean river bodies. Solid environment. Now when it became our turn to manage over the resources of this country, we've turned the streams in our urban centers black with filth, and we've poisoned our water bodies, our water bodies with mercury, cyanide, lead. We've made it difficult for our children to survive, get any quality life. We've undermined that. And because of that, we are all collectively responsible and at fault. Why? Because when our president slept on his job in breach of the powers we gave him, in breach of the terms of the oath he took, in breach of the trust that we created in him, we lacked the courage to hold him accountable. We lacked the courage to call him out. When, in the light of Professor Frimpong's Barton's report, after the president had slept, having had that report for 2 years, and that report having been leaked, the president decided to go after Prof. Frimpong Barton. We kept quiet. We slept. We watched on when charlatans and the MPP watched on for charlatans to take over their party, because per the report and per what we know, the biggest perpetrators of this crime against Ghana are senior members of the New Patriotic Party. As senior members of the New Patriotic Party, what did we do? What did we do? We kept quiet. We kept quiet, and by keeping quiet, we have failed the generation to come. We failed our children. We failed our grandchildren. We've left Ghana worse off than we came to meet it. We've destroyed the conscience of this country. That is what we have done. And so this strike by organized labor is a little opportunity for us to bring about a restoration in the collective responsibility of each and every single Ghanaian towards building the Ghana that we need. And we will be failing in the call if we limit the demand for the strike to just what we are demanding for. If that demand does not include the immediate impeachment of the president, then we'll be failing. Yeah, we'll be failing. Because this president is all about doing something to represent something. In fact, political leadership for a very long time has largely been about doing something to represent something. No commitment. Because people like you asked me on Monday when I came to your show that what are the policy directions that needs to be put. And I'm telling you, it's not about the policy direction. Because every policy we need to manage our resources are in our books. Yeah. Ghana isn't just 8 years old. Yeah. Ghana is over 60 years old. It's not the first time that we are seeing these threats. When they talk, they say galamsey has been us with since. Galamsey has not been with us for as in since. That's a palpable lie to justify the dereliction of duty of Nana Akufo-Addo. And so we say, oh, galamsey has been with us since. Bless. I want to use this your platform to call on organized labor, to call on all Ghanaians that the time to hold political leadership accountable now. The time for us to create that culture is now. The time for us to send a signal loud and clear to all political leaders, to anybody we sign that social contract with. And it's not just the president we sign the social contract with. We sign the social contract with the parliamentarians too, because they've also slept. Because per the nature and the terms of the powers we give our president to be the trustee of our natural resources, we also created a system where the parliamentarians were to keep the president in check.
And they failed to do so.
You understand? I'll land on this point. There's a reason why no concession can be workable unless it has ratification from Parliament. But what have they done? They've slept. They've also lost legitimacy because they are not working. They think in Parliament they represent their political parties. And so Ghanaians, we are faced with a huge opportunity. I want to say opportunity here. An opportunity to cause a democratic revolution. A revolution in how the social contract we signed is handled. Now that revolution would demand, or should demand, first of all, the ultimate accountability from the president. It should demand. And it's not enough an excuse to say that because of the nature of the parliament we have, it won't succeed. But we need to send a signal loud and clear, not just to the president, but also to our parliamentarians, to the majority chief whip, who disgracefully had the cojones, didn't have the wisdom when he called for that useless debate. And also we must demand accountability from the political parties, because they also have a job, a role to play in the system we are creating for ourselves. Why is the new patriotic party not up in arms? Is it because they gave the people of Ghana a Dutch check? Is it because they gave us a Dutch check? Because in 2016, they gave us a check. That take this check and vote for the candidate we are sponsoring. Take this check and take it to the bank of good governance. We've taken the check there. It's bounced. Says take this check. Take it to the bank of the sustainable development or utilization of your natural resources. Take this check there, and that's when you vote for this leader, he's going to fulfill his obligation and ensure that in how we exploit our natural resources, our environment will not be compromised. Our lives, our existence will not be put under peril. We've taken a check there, it's bounced. So take this check, take it to the bank of economic credibility. Take it there. We took the check there, it's bounced. Now we have DDEP. Nobody believes in government of Ghana bonds. It calls for a revolution, a political one, a democratic one. Let us demand that accountability from the president. And in 2024, let us look in the eyes of the New Patriotic Party and tell them that we won't take your check again. We won't sit down for you to pull a fast one on us and sell a bunsam samna to us. We won't allow that. We won't allow that. And instead, we will give our votes to credible leadership. We will give our votes to somebody who in the course of his life has demonstrated a commitment to public service, both in Ghana and internationally. We will give our votes to Alan John Kodu Chamanten. Right. For real leadership.
Thank you very much. Always impassioned when it comes to the issue in relation to illegal mining. But let me now come to Audu Ishak of the People's National Convention, their General Secretary for that matter. He'd also share his thoughts with us on this development.
Bless, I don't know whether to dwell on the menace of galamsey, or to narrow it down to this irresponsibility exhibited by the president of the Ghana Medical Association. If there was any particular group that should have been concerned much more than anybody else about the fight against galamsey, considering its consequences on health, it should have been the doctors' front. Well, these are the people who times without number come to tell us what they see as per the work they do as medical doctors. So if there's an opportunity for us to come together as a people to stop this menace of galamsey, to save lives, and to save you, the medical doctor, from the pressures of such unfamiliar health conditions that we are experiencing today, it is most shocking and surprising that Dr. Frank Srebuo would take such a unilateral decision of trying to keep the Ghana Medical Association away from being a part of this industrial action by the organized labor of our republic. I am happy that there have been a swift response by a member of that particular association calling for his removal. Because I think that these are very noble institutions that are run by rules and by ethics. You cannot, as it were, sit anywhere in comfort and decide to issue such a statement without going through due process. As the statement or the petition for his removal indicates, he must answer for the decision that he took, and I am happy that it has been that swift. Bless, but how did we get here as a people? People sit back and they say that galamsey has been with us over the years. How come that all of a sudden every water body that you know in Ghana has lost its, how do I put it, has been destroyed? So if people were doing galamsey in the past, but the level of destruction was not as much as we see today, does it mean that we do not have the right to call for any action from government? I have seen people try to shift the responsibility. In fact, even the NPP, the government of the day, its ministers, its officials, its communicators are seen shifting the blame and complaining bitterly about the conduct of other political parties in opposition, especially the NDC. And the simple question I ask is, look, like lawyer Apia Dankwa just said, you have been given the opportunity to come and govern. You made promises to the good people of Ghana. The good people of Ghana trusted those promises that you made. They gave you the opportunity. Today, you are in charge. You have all the powers. In fact, sweeping powers are given to the government in our constitutional architecture. You are unable to trigger those powers to ensure that you do a job as simple as stopping people from engaging in illegal mining. And then you turn around and you say that the opposition is making your work difficult. How is the opposition making the work of stopping galamsey difficult? This is an illegal affair, which means that you have the power to take action, criminal action, against anybody who is engaged in it. You have the power of arrest through several agencies. You have the power to prosecute through the Attorney General's Department and the police as well. And then you turn around and say that the NDC or someone else is not helping the cause. To the extent that people even make references to pronouncements made by the NDC and its operatives. If those pronouncements in any way are inimical or sound a bit unfavorable in the fight against galamsey, and you think that people can be held liable for those pronouncements, why don't you go after them? If you cannot go after them, stop complaining. It is akin, like I said, to a man who blames his head part for his inability to carry a load. It is not about the head part. But that is exactly what we are seeing today. To the extent that, bless, people make all manner, excuse my language, all manner of unpalatable comments coming from people who are supposed to have been up there in terms of thinking. But they make sweeping statements that would not even be made by my 12-year-old daughter in the midst of the crisis that we are facing. How can an MP go and stand and say that they are not going to stop galamsey today, they will not stop it tomorrow, and that they are aware that it is the NDC that imported people from Burkina Faso to come and engage in galamsey? So if the NDC has imported people, the NDC is an institution. Who in the NDC imported the people? They should come and answer if you have the evidence. You are not serious in the fight against galamsey. To the extent like Dr. Lawyer Pierre Dankwa said again, that you have a majority chief whip get up on the floor of parliament, and it is not about how they would come together or how parliament would play its oversight to help in the fight against galamsey, but rather it is about who has destroyed the environment more than the other. Is that what we want now? In fact, what has triggered this massive show of support to organized labor's decision to go on a demonstration or a strike for that matter? It is because today the level of destruction is seen to be unprecedented. Very unprecedented. So you don't need a debate between anybody. In any case, those who were destroying the water bodies in the past probably is part of the reason for which they were voted out of government. You have come, and your reference is what they did in the past. What are the parameters that you are using to determine who did what in as far as destroying the environment through illegal mining, popularly called galamsey, is concerned? You listen to the CEO of the Minerals Commission when he appeared before Parliament, I think on Monday. He made revelations that made my feet run cold. The man, he sat before Parliament and said that, look, they are aware of illegal mining taking place right behind the police station in Enyinem. The Minerals Commission made their report officially. Up to today, as at the time that he was facing Parliament, the activity over there was still ongoing. You understand? And the man said that, look, we cannot stop the issuance of licenses because I have been put here with a certain mandate. No counter directive has come from government or anybody else to say that because of where we have reached in the fight against galamsey, let us stop the issuance of licenses. Because he's not working on his own. The Minerals Commission is a creation under the direction of the government as a whole. So if the government does not direct him as to what to do through the board, that is why you have a board for the Minerals Commission. You understand? And so the man said, oh, look, the fight against galamsey, we know, yes. But if nobody comes to tell me that I should stop the issuance of licenses, on what authority would I stop issuing licenses? But when this revelation was made on Saturday, that licenses were still being issued in the midst of the crisis, MPP apologists and communicators came out and said that people were lying. The man faced Parliament on Monday and he said it was true. And bless, indeed, if you are fighting against galamsey, would you continue to issue licenses for small-scale mining? Because it is this small-scale mining that is being confused with galamsey. You understand? So, to fight against it, you must restrict the licensing regime so that you'll be able to take stock of the activities of all of those who are already having licenses and supposed to be mining responsibly and within legal limits. But if you are not doing that and you continue to pile up the issuance of licenses, it means that you are not serious in the fight against galamsey. And for me, I think that this is a government that has failed woefully in the fight against galamsey, just as it has done in every other front. I keep saying that the only way by which probably we could get some respite and see a renewed fight that would save our environment, that would save our water bodies, is to stop the aid. Let us stop the NPP from continuing to govern. We need a change in government, we need a new direction, and we need an entirely new leader. Not somebody who has been part of the old order, not somebody who probably have played a very critical and crucial role as far as this regime is concerned. And so for me, I want to commend organized labor and to say that we are with them in solidarity, that we need to keep up the pressure because we don't know who will be affected. Because yesterday I saw a quote that when the environment is destroyed, when the last tree is destroyed, when the last water body dries up, that is when you know that you cannot eat or drink money. The money you have. If you are thirsty, you cannot drink the money. If you are hungry, you cannot eat the money. You must use it to buy food. You must use it to buy water. So if there is no water or there is no food, the essence of money is lost. So those who think that they are filthy rich, probably from the activities of galamsey, to the extent that they don't care whether we have water or not, and they keep saying that they will import water and all of that, you may not even be able to import the water after all. Let us keep up the fight. Let us stop the fight against galamsey. I doubt whether this government, with less than 3 months to leave office, will be able to do what ought to be done, considering the level of devastation and the level of destruction of the water bodies. So let us hope that we are able to survive until the 7th of December, so that we take a decision that, as it were, would ensure that we get a set of people who would be able to do what we all desire.
Thank you very much. I'll do a few messages. You've sent quite a number of them. Good morning, Africa. The MPP logic is that the opposition made contrary remarks about the Ghana cedi, the world's most expensive port, pit, cocoa, etc. But the response is different from the contrary remarks on only galamsey. The MPP only acts on what benefits them. Simple. You didn't tell me your name. but you said you were texting from Bolga. Ken Williams is one of our ardent followers and viewer. Please tell lawyer Apia Dankwa we want him to gather signatures for a vote of no confidence in Akufo-Addo for breaching his oath of office to protect life and state property. Again, lawyer must sue Akufo-Addo at ICC, ECOWAS Court, AU Court, and EU Court for war crimes and political killings at HEADMAN, Boku Idra, Yawaso, and other places. Akufo-Addo is stubborn because the media wouldn't hold him in check. 8 years of honeymoon for Akufo-Addo must come to an end. Enough is enough. All right. Thank you, Ken Williams, for your message. Good morning, comrades and patriots of Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. This devilish government asking. Okay. This devilish. It's okay. I can't read the remainder of the message. I'm sorry. Please employ decorum. I beg you. Good morning, Bless. I read with surprise that some persons are planning to demonstrate against organized labor. Yes, I don't know if you have heard. It's actually captured in one of the papers today that small-scale miners demonstrating against organized labor. So it says, I read with surprise that some persons are planning to demonstrate against organized labor. It's all the machinations of the government. The safety of this country is seriously under threat. Is Kofi Jima thinking the Gehog distillery is for his father? Let power change hand. He will run leaving his shoes from Nene Angmo in Kasei in Adan. Thank you, Nene, for your message. Alhaji Hamza says, good morning. My brother, I'm not particularly surprised to see this coming from the GMA, but we should not blame entire GMA members, but to hold the president of GMA responsible for the irresponsible behavior. I expect him to know better as a medical doctor. At least he is aware of what galamsey is doing to Ghanaians, but I'm also happy that members of the GMA have petitioned for him to be impeached, and this goes to show that other members are in support of the strike. GMA always goes on strike based on allowance and salary increments, while patients are left to die in the hospitals. What about that? My brother, trust me, this is the handiwork of the New Patriotic Party. All right. Thank you, Alhaji Hamza. Thank you for always tuning in to watch the show. Freem Evans says that, good morning, my trusted Pan-Africa TV. In 2016, Ghanaians sold their plasma TV for black and white. President John Mahama is holding the Plasma Pro 8. So let's gather under the umbrella of the NDC and break the Akufo-Addo Bawumia 8 years of misrule, mismanagement, 8 years of naked thievery, 8 years of corruption, 8 years of family and friends government, 8 years of looting of state assets and lands. Thank you so much for your message. Evans Denko from Garu, thank you. John Paul says that, good morning, Bless. I hear many MPP communicators saying that the demonstrators have misconducted themselves and so they deserve it. My question is, who is misconducting himself than the president? When it is his responsibility as president to fight galamsey, and he has displayed so much incompetence and refused to fight it because of his own parochial interests. But here he's concerned about citizens who are out to fight galamsey and protect Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana's future. And all he could do as president is to put them behind bars. It's absolute madness. Thank you so much, John Paul, for your message. Former SRC president of the Tamale Technical University. Good morning. I think I've already read your message, Ken Williams. So this is another one. The only way to stop galamsey is to report Akufo-Addo and his officials to ICC for crime against humanity. Indeed, making laws to pollute water bodies is against UN Resolution 2573, which sees water pollution as a war crime and an act of terrorism. Again, ICC must place arrest warrant on president and his officials for their political killings in Ejura, Boko, Techima, and other places. I think I've already thrown light on that one. This one here also says, good morning, Pan-African TV. Organized labor must go ahead with their strike to avenge the arrest and imprisonment of those gallant youth who demonstrated against galamsey. If organized labor fails the strike, the MPP and Nanado will pop champagne. Sami in Adenta. Thank you, Sami, for your message. On to Facebook. Nana Afra Entry says, bless, I strongly believe that no MPP, MP, and minister deserves to be leading us. They are a bunch of waste and liability on the public purse. It's about time the citizens demanded accountability from the MPP and its government. Greetings from Reykjavik in Iceland. All right, thank you. Kaidebi Steve says, so Mahama giving amnesty to those imprisoned is the cause of our muddy waters. Akufo-Addo's Melo. This one says, my name is David Labi. Yes, we must impeach the president. Why do some people fear Nana Akufo-Addo so much that even in their closest, when he cannot hear them, they fear to mention his name and criticize him? God is watching them. Nazir Mohammed. In any normal country at this juncture, the GMA would have been the one leading the vanguard. The MPP under Nana has brought the top hierarchy of every organization or association, including organized labor. What they have achieved is like putting a plaster on a festering wound just to stop being held accountable. This is how you destroy a nation, because if you make it impossible to be criticized, the long-time effect is what something like illegal mining has done. All right, thank you. Cephas Womwako. My name is Womwako. I think Councillor Appiah is speaking sense. But he doesn't have to blame the NDC. Okay, all right. Mark Donald Bruce says, MPP don't have sympathy for Ghanaians. Look at this senseless talk. We should allow them to continue to poison all of us and still stay in power to continue drinking the mercury-polluted galamsey water. All right, these are some of your messages. We have just about 8 minutes more, but there are 2 more topics. I'm sure, yes, there are 2 more topics. 8 minutes isn't enough time to discuss the 2 topics, but yes, so exactly that. The movement for change is in the Central Region Council. The movement for change is in the Central Region.
Kwame is doing a great job. So, like I said, I think Alan did well to appoint Kwame as his vice presidential candidate. What Kwame has done is he's brought so much energy and youth into the campaign. He's going around, and I think he's the #1 evangelist now, taking the message of the Great Transformational Plan, which essentially is a message of hope. It's a message that is telling Ghanaians that, listen, we know that you've been shortchanged for a very long time, but have hope, because right now we need hope. We need hope so that we, the repositories of sovereign power, can hold this democracy together. And that is what Kwame is doing. I think yesterday, strangely, he met some of the MPP people along the way. He met some of the MPP people, and Alan himself also met some of the MPP people. And interestingly, and something we have been seeing, that I'm not MPP's problem. When we leave the political scene and come to the partisan level, people like myself, we are no problem for the MPP. Beyond talking and educating people on the evils, why we shouldn't vote for them. But their bigger problem is the millions of people in the MPP who have left the party. But I'm not sitting on TV, I'm not sitting on radio. Because Kwame met some of the MPP people in the Central Region, and their willingness to take their T-shirts and put on the T-shirt of the Yellow Army was a sight to behold. And interestingly, when that was happening in the Central Region, something similar was happening in the Ashanti Region. During the rally by the MPP around the Kumewu, when they heard the Afro-Phantom music, they left their rally, came to take the T-shirts and put on their T-shirts. Because you see, when they go around and they are speaking, essentially what they are telling us that we are not wise, and that you can do very terrible leadership, and because they are the MPP, we will vote for them. No, we are wise, and we understand commitment. And so, bless, Kwame is doing a great job. He's going from village to village. He's going from hamlet to hamlet. And Kwame is your own boss. You know, he has that natural charisma, that natural love for people, which, in my opinion, is a guarantee for anybody who wants to be a leader. You must naturally love people. You understand? Because you are going to lead them. If our president loved people genuinely, then this galamsey issue, he'll be thinking about the lives, people he does not know, what could befall them if he does not manage the environment well. You understand? So you need people who love people. And that's why I'm saying that Kwame Danso was a divine selection. And clearly he tells me that Alan is one who is being led by God himself. And that's why I say he wants to be a Christ-like leader. Because if there's something about being a Christ-like leader, then it's about understanding. It's not about pitching one religion against the other. But it's an understanding and appreciation that when you are called to lead, really is a call to serve. Yeah, you understand? You need to serve. You need to be competent. And your competence includes your understanding and appreciation of the fact that you are called to serve the people. And you cannot serve the people if you do not genuinely love and care for the people. So Kwame is going around in his natural self. He's artificial. He's just being Kwame. And Central Region is buying into that message of hope, the message of the great transformational plan. And I have no doubt that come 7th December, the people of Ghana will terminate the social contract they have with Nanado and the New Patriotic Party and sign the social contract with Alan John Kojo Chemantin, with his competent, young, vibrant running mate, Kwame Danso, and unleash on this country the transformational leadership that we've been lacking. And that leadership will cause Ghana to rise again and take their place as the Black Star of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Since lawyer has spoken on Kwame.
Yeah, right. You don't want to.
That's where his blood is connected. I'm also connected to the Electoral Commission, so let me also speak. It's a place I've also worked before. Yeah. So they are hoping to cross 79%.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I believe the stakes are high, and I believe it will be more than 79%. But I think that what is important is for them to sit up and do the right thing. I mean, of late, almost every pronouncement of EC, they are seeking to project themselves as being transparent, being fair, being... Okay? As Professor Lumbo will say, right? If you would think you've done something right, let the thing talk for itself. Okay? This struggle to always say that we are transparent, we are this, just do your work as you are expected to do. Engage as much as possible. Let everybody know the nitty-gritties of your operations. And you will not need to spend time explaining how transparent you are or how fair you are. But like, I know I've heard lawyer appear Danko on this subject, but which I very much attached to that. The very appointment of certain personality within the EC itself was problematic from day one. And that is why the benchmark becomes higher for them. That how they got recruited, how the how old EC was booted out and they coming in itself was problematic. I can only hope that they will wake up and do what is needed in order to give us a very transparent election this year, because the stakes are really, really very high. How would you?
Right.
Well, I think that I've not had the opportunity to talk about Kwame's appointment. Kwame is a very familiar friend to all of us, and I think that it's exciting that he was seen worthy of filling those shoes meant for a vice president. And since the appointment, I'm sure that the Dalton Thomases will be rewriting their notes.
They are.
Because I think that Kwame has so far done a very fantastic job. And he's giving hope to the youth of Ghana. And I think that it's an inspiration that people like us, who are within the same age brackets, given the opportunity, we would be able to do things that people would marvel at. I wish Kwame and the movement for change well, because the campaign for 2024 actually should not be about who wins. It is about getting the NPP out of office. And eventually, like I keep saying, we need a new order, and we cannot continue with another NPP president. We just need to get these people out of the way so that we could begin to see how things could be done differently, because I'm not sure that they would do anything differently if they break the 8.
Thank you very much, Awudu Shak, General Secretary of the People's National Convention. Thank you, Councillor Apia Dankwa, private legal practitioner and a leading member of the Movement for Change. Thank you, Dr. Aminu Shitu, an adjunct lecturer with the Chelsea University, and to you, our cherished viewers, for your time this morning. It's been a pleasure. Thursday edition of the show comes your way tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I think you should too. It's going to be as exciting and compelling as always. Do have a pleasant morning. Bye-bye.